and check out adamscheapamaryland.com. But guys, the recent news, literally today, was Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett's the fairy tale, at least moment here of in Baltimore, people are going, wait a minute. Myles Garrett wants to leave and wants to go chase down a championship. Seems like that would be a good fit. And the heart, Kevin, Zach, the heart would want Myles Garrett, but the mind is saying that's not the team in Maryland that has a realistic shot. And I did see the list come out initially. Do you guys know the list that I'm talking about? Had the Bills as number one, Ravens as third for favorites. Doesn't seem exactly accurate, does it, Kev? You're shaking your head.
No. The Bills would need to have some maneuvering, and a lot of these teams would. I mean, Myles Garrett right now, it's interesting because his base salary is only $1 million. The cap hit obviously is 19. But it just depends what these teams are willing to give up. And by the way, they should be willing to give up everything. Like Myles Garrett is that good of a player. He's 29. But the Bills and some of these teams, I'm not so sure. I think it's going to be more of an up and coming team that doesn't have a ton of long-term commitment for the next 2, 3, maybe 4 years. Quarterback on a rookie deal. And Ryan, I think, you're alluding to a team, not the Ravens, although we can certainly get into that in a couple minutes or so. But there seems to be another team in the area that feels like they're much more equipped to maybe make a run at Myles Garrett.
Really feels that way, doesn't it? I mean, look, the Commanders today and Josh Harris and their staff were talking today specifically, not about Myles Garrett, but we're talking about the name, the Commanders, and that name's here to stay for those that had any doubts. It's here to stay. But when you're looking at the structure of the team and what they have, the cap space, the rookie quarterback, Zach, if there is any team that could break the bank and not break the bank for an extension, have the draft capital to make the move, and then their future, how bright it is in the NFC, honestly, if I'm the Commanders, I am throwing everything at the Cleveland Browns to get Myles Garrett because it just seems like it's a perfect match if the Cleveland Browns truly actually let him go.
Yeah, it is the perfect match, and we talked about it. It checks all the boxes that Kevin, you brought up. Young, up and coming team with a lot of talent for years to come. That's young on rookie deals. Your quarterback, most importantly, has 4 more years, assuming they pick up the 5th-year option on his rookie deal. And then you have the draft capital and the salary cap available to make a deal like this happen. So when you look at everything, it all signs point to the Commanders need to be the team to go get him. And why wouldn't they? You pair him with that already extremely talented defensive line. You can send 3-4 guys all day, and you're going to be putting pressure on the quarterback. Now, the secondary is where Washington needs to improve this offseason. I think that was kind of their biggest area of need. Well, one way to help improve the secondary is the quarterback has 2 less seconds to throw. You have to cover for less time because now not only do you have Payne, Jonathan Allen, you now add onto that star-stud line a Myles Garrett. You can't double team everyone. You double team Allen, Myles Garrett's got it. It just everything makes too much sense for the Commanders to go there. He would be that awesome veteran presence that's still at the top of his game, one of the best, if not the best pass rushers out there. It makes too much sense for the Commanders.
I mean, you know what? Just to not sugarcoat this or not to dance around, it's just Myles Garrett is that damn good.
Yeah.
The Commanders are ready to win, right? And this is the crazy thing. It's you don't have to convince anybody with this move, right? Is he a great player? Yes. Is it a need for the Commanders? Yes. Are the Commanders possibly going to have the most upside of teams in the NFC the next 4 years? Yes.
Yeah.
So it all makes sense. One other thing I want to tie in why it also won't be Baltimore in my mind, and Kevin, maybe you got an opinion on that, especially with that Jack Sparrow-esque mustache. But so it really, to me, there was times in the past where the Ravens were interested in, say, Zadarius Smith, pass rusher, right? Make no mistake, I don't think Cleveland loves dealing with teams in the division, but specifically Baltimore, there's some friction, there's some tension. And I think just that alone, even if hypothetically we were able to throw out the what ifs, the Brian Windhorst what ifs, I don't see that the Browns would budge for a deal in the division unless it is something that's so ludicrous.
That's the only way.
That's not a Ravens move. Like, Baltimore is not going to do that. That's not smart. That's not an Eric DeCosta type move,
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I think that, when you're talking about a team in the NFC versus the Ravens, the Bengals, the Steelers, I think that the Browns are going to have two different price points for whether it comes to, okay, well, we can trade them out of not only the division, but out of the conference, or you got to play them twice a year and you got to deal with, they're already the Browns fan base. And it's almost like the Luka thing. And I know, Ryan, you kind of touched on this during the member stream, but first of all, for the fan base, the Browns fan base to side with Myles Garrett, Myles Garrett says, I want to win. I want to request the trade. And the Browns fans are like, yeah, all right. Like, we get it. Like, it sucks, but okay. That already tells you the Browns are in a heap of trouble. And it's the same thing with Luka, where the Mavs fans are all siding with Luka and even the Lakers now. But if you're talking about it from a Ravens perspective, they also just don't really deal first-round picks like that. And if the Browns are going to ask, hey, you're in our division, we might be asking for a first and a second and a third from another team, but we're going to make you give us 2 firsts and extra stuff. That's just going to shy the Ravens. The Ravens aren't going to do that. So obviously, it's not impossible. I'm not going to, nothing's impossible, as we saw on Saturday with the Luka thing. But I just think that in terms of likelihoods, I'm putting it pretty far down on the list.
I mean, if you ask Kevin Garnett, Jason Tatum, anything is possible. Maybe, Kevin, if you give them the Black Pearl, then maybe there could be a deal in place. Do you know that reference, or is that way over your head?
I don't know.
Do you understand? You know what Jack Sparrow is, correct?
Yeah. Pirates of the Caribbean?
Correct. Do you know what ship Jack Sparrow used to captain?
No.
I'll give you a hint. I just said it.
Yeah, I was going to say.
What?
The Black Pearl.
Oh. You cut out for me when you said that. I didn't hear you say it. Yeah. You like
Goodness
that?
gracious. But for the Commanders, though, it makes a great point. The Ravens value draft picks. They value making a good deal that makes sense. They're willing to spend if the price is right. But when you're looking at what you can do to add to your roster, plus then that you're dealing with a team in division that Lord knows they don't want to see you win, especially in the fact you think people in Cleveland still forget when the Ravens left, or Cleveland left, came to Baltimore, and then the Ravens won that Super Bowl the first year. You don't think that stings, and that Myles Garrett could be a big reason why the Ravens could win their third. Those things, people do hold grudges there. And for the Commanders, that culture, it really fits everything that they're doing. So if I was going to be a betting man with that, I think that the Commanders, that would be a destination if I was Myles Garrett, that I would say, hey, I would sign there, and I believe that we can do some damage. So we'll see what happens, right? We'll see what happens there. A lot of off-season conversations to go, and I'm sure it's going to heat up, as it always does. Is what, Kevin? It's a month after the Super Bowl ends will be the NFL free agency.
Yep.
And things are going to be just going wild. Truly, things are going to get chaotic once more.